There's something they don't always tell you about getting older, especially once you cross that milestone of 80. It's not just about the wisdom you've gained or the grandkids you adore. There are some realities that come with this stage of life. Things no one really prepares you for, but things we should all talk about openly. Because here's the truth. Understanding these realities doesn't make them scarier. It actually gives you more control, more peace, and more joy in your golden years. So today, let's have an honest heart-to-heart conversation about 5 realities of life after 80. Not to worry you, but to empower you. Because when you know what to expect, you can plan, adjust, and keep living life on your terms. Now, the first reality is one you may have already noticed. Your body just doesn't bounce back the way it used to. Remember when you could catch a cold and be back on your feet in a couple of days? Or when a minor ache would fade without a second thought? After 80, recovery takes longer. A small stumble might lead to weeks of caution. An infection might knock you down harder than you'd expect. And that's not a sign of weakness. It's just biology. But here's the good news. You can work with it. Staying active, even in gentle ways like short walks or chair exercises, keeps your muscles strong. Eating well gives your body the fuel it needs to heal. And most importantly, listening to your body, not pushing through pain or ignoring warning signs, can make all the difference. The second reality is one that's a little harder to talk about, but it's just as important. Loneliness can creep in, even when you least expect it. Friends you've known for decades may pass away or move closer to family. Your social circle might shrink without you realizing it. And if you've lost a spouse or partner, the quiet moments can feel especially heavy. But here's what I want you to remember. Loneliness doesn't have to be permanent. Reaching out, whether it's joining a community group, reconnecting with old friends over the phone, or even making new ones through hobbies, can light up your days in ways you might not expect. And if getting out isn't easy anymore, technology can be a wonderful bridge. A video call with a grandchild, an online book club, or even listening to a podcast can make the world feel a little smaller and a lot warmer. Now let's talk about the third reality, because this one affects so many aspects of life. Independence becomes a balancing act. You've spent decades making your own decisions, managing your own home, and living life your way. But after 80, some things might get harder, whether it's driving at night, keeping up with household chores, or remembering medications. And that can be frustrating, even scary, because no one wants to feel like they're losing control. But independence isn't all or nothing. It's about finding smart compromises. Maybe it's accepting a little help with grocery delivery or hiring a handyman for small repairs. Maybe it's moving to a senior-friendly community where you still have your own space but have support when you need it. The goal isn't to give up independence. It's to redefine it in a way that keeps you safe, happy, and in charge of your life. These realities aren't easy to face, but here's what I hope you take away so far. Each one comes with opportunities to adapt, to connect, to thrive in new ways. And in the next part, we'll explore 2 more realities, along with practical ways to navigate them with confidence and even a little joy. Because no matter your age, life is meant to be lived fully. When we're young, we often think of life as this straight path: school, career, family, retirement. But after 80, it's more like a winding river. There are bends you don't expect, currents that change, and sometimes you just have to let go and trust that you'll find your way. That brings us to the 4th reality of life after 80. Your relationship with time shifts in ways you might not anticipate. Think about it. When you were 40 or even 60, time felt like something you could manage. You made plans years in advance, set goals, and worked toward them. But after 80, time becomes both more precious and more unpredictable. Some days stretch long and quiet, while others seem to slip by in a blink. You might find yourself thinking more about the past than the future, replaying memories like old movies in your mind. And that's not a bad thing. It's natural. But here's the key. Don't let nostalgia become the only story you tell yourself. Time is still yours to shape. Maybe it's writing down those memories for your family so they become a legacy. Maybe it's picking up an old hobby you loved but set aside, or even discovering something new that sparks your curiosity. The point is, time doesn't have to feel like it's running out. It can feel like a gift you're unwrapping, one day at a time. Now, let's talk about the fifth reality, and this one can be tough to face. Your role in your family changes. For most of your life, you were the one giving advice, offering support, maybe even solving problems for your kids or grandkids. But as the years go by, the dynamic often shifts. Your children might start making decisions for you, whether it's about your health, your living situation, or even your finances. And that can feel like a loss, like you're no longer the one in charge. But here's another way to look at it. Your role isn't shrinking, it's evolving. You're still the heart of your family, the keeper of its history, the one whose love and wisdom shape the people they've become. And sometimes, letting them care for you is the greatest gift you can give. It doesn't mean giving up your voice. It just means sharing the responsibility. Have those conversations early while you're still feeling strong. Tell your family what matters to you, what your wishes are. That way, when the time comes for them to step in, they'll do it with your values guiding them, not guesswork. Now, I know these realities aren't always easy to hear, but here's what I want you to remember. Every stage of life has its challenges, and everyone has its joys too. The trick is to focus on what you can control, to find the bright spots even on the harder days. And in the next part, we'll talk about how to do just that. How to not just face these realities, but to thrive in spite of them. Because you've lived through decades of change, of ups and downs, and that means you're tougher and wiser than you might even realize. You've lived through so much, decades of change, challenges, and triumphs. And if there's one thing your life has taught you, it's this. Resilience isn't about avoiding hardship, it's about learning how to move through it with grace. That brings us to the final reality of life after 80, and in many ways, it's the most important one. Your mindset becomes your greatest asset. Think about the people you've known who seemed to grow sweeter with age, who found joy in small moments and faced difficulties with quiet strength. Then think of others who grew bitter, who let every ache or disappointment dim their light. What made the difference? It wasn't luck or circumstance, it was choice. After 80, your body may not always cooperate, but your spirit is still yours to shape. That might mean practicing gratitude, not as a cliche, but as a daily habit. Maybe it's keeping a little notebook by your chair to jot down one good thing each day. The way the sun hit the leaves outside your window, the sound of a loved one's laughter, a memory that made you smile. Or it might mean giving yourself permission to grieve the losses of abilities, of people, of the life you once knew, while still finding meaning in the life you have now. Here's something else to consider. Your legacy isn't just what you leave behind, it's how you live right now. The way you handle these years with their unique challenges and gifts becomes part of the story your family will tell about you long after you're gone. Do you want them to remember you as someone who faced aging with dignity and kindness? As someone who kept learning, kept loving, kept finding reasons to laugh? Then start living that story today. Share your wisdom, even if it's just in small ways. Tell your favorite stories, not just the big triumphs, but the funny mistakes and hard-earned lessons too. Let your grandchildren see that a life well lived isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. Now let's bring all this together. Yes, life after 80 comes with realities we can't ignore. Slower healing, changing roles, the passing of time. But here's what else it comes with: depth, perspective, and a kind of freedom you've never had before. Freedom from the rush of middle age, from the need to prove yourself, from so many of the worries that once kept you up at night. You've earned the right to slow down, to savor, to say no to what drains you and yes to what fills your heart. So as we close, I'll leave you with this. Your age isn't a countdown, it's a testament. Every line on your face, every ache in your bones, every memory you carry is proof of a life lived fully. And while the road ahead may have its bumps, it also holds moments of unexpected beauty, if you're open to seeing them. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's one small joy you've discovered in this chapter of life? Or what's a piece of wisdom you'd pass on to someone just starting their journey into their later years? Let's keep this conversation going, because your story matters. And if this video resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more honest, heartfelt talks about making the most of every age. Until next time, remember, you're not just growing older, you're growing richer in all the ways that truly count. Here's to writing this chapter of your life with courage, kindness, and maybe even a little mischief. After all, why stop now?